Have you ever heard a story so terrifying, so chilling, that it keeps you awake through the night? Picture this. The rain is pouring down, the thunder cracks the silence, and in the midst of it all, you hear a story that freezes your blood. Tonight, you're about to hear real-life, true scary stories that will leave you questioning your own reality. The kind of stories that linger long after the rain stops. And trust me, these stories are not for the faint of heart. As you listen to the storm rage outside, you'll realize this night may never feel the same again. So turn off the lights, grab your blanket, and let's dive into a world where reality blurs with the unknown. Are you ready to face your deepest fears? Let's begin. The Lost Hiker. Imagine this. You're hiking alone, deep in the woods, the rain drenching your jacket as the wind howls around you. You've been walking for hours and the path seems endless. But then, you notice something strange. A trail of footprints leading you deeper into the forest. They don't look like your own. And as the fog rolls in, you realize you've lost all sense of direction. And you're not alone. A man named Ryan went on a solo hiking trip in the Pacific Northwest. What was supposed to be a relaxing weekend trip quickly turned into something far more sinister. As the rain started falling heavier, Ryan lost his bearings, and he noticed the same set of footprints following him, always just a few steps behind. At first he thought it was his imagination, but the sound of footsteps? Too real, too close. It wasn't until the thunder roared that he heard a voice, a whisper, barely audible, but undeniably there. Turn back. He turned around to see nothing, just the rain and the eerie stillness of the forest. But the voice, it didn't stop. In the darkness, Ryan could barely make out a figure, a shadow moving just out of reach. He ran, and when he finally made it to a clearing, he saw the most horrifying thing of all, his own footprints leading back toward the start of the trail, but a second set trailing right behind him. Now you might be thinking, that sounds like a nightmare. But let's get real for a second. Who's going hiking in the rain anyway? That's like voluntarily walking into a horror movie with no exit signs. But maybe there's a reason these things happen. Let's talk about it. But Ryan's story isn't the only one. Let's move on to a story that's even more unsettling. A tale that's not just about being lost in the woods, but lost in time itself. Have you ever heard a train at midnight when no tracks are nearby? What if that sound wasn't just the wind? One cold, rainy evening in a quiet town in the Midwest, a young woman named Sarah was waiting at an old train station. It had been abandoned for years, and yet Sarah always found herself drawn to it. She didn't know why she went there. She wasn't waiting for a train, but something compelled her. And as the rain started to fall, she heard it. The distant rumble of an approaching train. The sound was unmistakable, but there were no tracks. There was no train coming. Sarah laughed nervously at herself, thinking it was just the rain playing tricks. But as the sound grew louder, so did her fear. The train, though invisible, seemed to be drawing closer, its whistle echoing in the air. Sarah turned to leave, but before she could, something terrifying happened. She saw it. A train, though faint, almost translucent, rushed by her at full speed, without a single sound or vibration in the ground. The people inside the train, all wearing old-fashioned clothing, they stared straight at her. No one moved, not even a blink. Then, just as suddenly as it appeared, the train vanished. But the whispers, they stayed. She would hear them every time it rained, and they kept getting closer. Would you ever return to that station knowing what you might encounter? Because Sarah wasn't the only one. There's one more story that'll send chills down your spine. This one might even make you rethink your own home. Now let's talk about a story that's as close to home as you can get. What if you found out that the place you feel safest was actually hiding something terrifying? Something that's been waiting in the shadows all along. An old house on Oak Street had always intrigued Alex. A place where the neighborhood kids dared each other to visit, and the rumors were endless. Some said it was abandoned. Others believed it was the home of a reclusive old man who had disappeared years ago. But for Alex, it was more than just curiosity. It was a challenge. He was determined to find out what was truly inside. As the rain started to pour that night, Alex, armed with nothing more than a flashlight and his nerves, stepped inside the house. The floor creaked under his weight and the air felt thick, as though the house was holding its breath. Then the door slammed shut behind him. He spun around. The house was alive. The lights flickered. Whispers filled the room. Alex turned a corner into a hallway, only to see an old photograph on the wall. The man in the photo looked eerily familiar, but it was the people standing next to him that caught Alex's attention, his own family, smiling as if they had always been there. But what Alex found next was something no one could have predicted, something so horrifying. It might change your understanding of what's real. Stay tuned. We'll get to that right after this short break. All right, don't worry. No cliffhangers here. Well, maybe just one. But really, have you ever wondered why these scary stories always seem to happen when it rains? Like, why not when it's sunny and you're at a picnic? A good mystery always keeps you on your toes. Speaking of mysteries, let's continue. Now, I could go on and tell you what happened to Alex, but let's leave that story unfinished for another time. Because tonight, you've been through more than just a haunted house or a ghostly train. You've ventured into the depths of fear, where reality and the supernatural intertwine. As you sit here listening to the rain, remember this: the world is full of dark secrets, and sometimes we're not meant to uncover them all. But the one thing that's certain is that the fear we feel is often what drives us to seek answers, to understand, to uncover the truth. If tonight's stories have left you with more questions than answers, perhaps it's time to think about how you face the unknown in your own life. After all, the bravest decisions often lead us to the greatest rewards, just like the power of compounding in your finances. If you want to learn how small, consistent efforts can lead to massive growth, click on the video that's popping up on your screen now. Trust me, the journey from fear to fortune might not be as far as you think. End scene thunder fades as the rain continues to fall. The screen transitions to the video suggestion about compounding.